In fact, I decided not to do Kung Fu in that prison, which is a crazy thing to do, because every day you need to watch your back. And you know, the reason why is because when I was a master, I would teach all of my students that if somebody hits you here in your face, how to defend and how to attack the person. Whereas I was reading in my Bible that Jesus said, if somebody hits you here, well, turn the cheek and give them this side too. And you know, I just felt a little bit conscious about that. And I thought to myself, it's very hard to go that direction and that direction at the same time. And I thought to myself, well, no, I'm going to continue following that guy that said, I am the way and the truth and the life, and no one comes to the Father except through me. That guy called Jesus Christ. And anyway, I could never really see Jesus doing Kung Fu anyway. So I just decided not to do it anymore. And you know, I'm not saying that it's wrong, but all I'm saying in my life, it was wrong. I feel like the alcoholic that's reformed. I don't think the alcoholic that should ever go back to drinking booze ever again. Don't even sip it. Don't even go anywhere near a pub. In the same way for me, I found I had to stay away from my addiction, which was the anger and the violence. And that's the reason why I turned my back on it, completely. And you know what? All I can say to you is that God protected me in that prison. He protected me day by day by day, and I was the first of 10 men to become a Christian. I was the Buddhist. My friend Shane from Sri Lanka was a Hindu. Mohammed, Ahmed, and Tamam were Muslims from Jordan. Andres from Cyprus. Ziggy the German. Simon from Lebanon. And 2 other friends from the Middle East. I really believe we were the 10 of the most disgusting, violent, sickening criminals you'll find. And yet we were big enough to pray to Jesus Christ, and He made us all trophies of grace. All I can say to you, friends, praise God, praise God. Friends, all I can say to you, please, absolutely, praise God. All I can say to you, though, is this. God protected me and 10 of us in there. We were all struggling. We were going through things where we had to cut away from all the baggage. It was so hard. Walking the life of a Christian in a prison like that, where you're so used to violence and just doing things in a certain way. Now trying to follow Jesus' ways, and it was really hard. But you know what? He changed us. And many of us struggled, but you know, I continued. I left the prison. All I can say to you is that I left that prison and I was sent back to England. I was sent to England because I have a British passport. And basically, I came to England and I made every effort to turn away from all my connections with my past. I was praying that God would rebuild my life, and He did. He really did. He gave me honest work where I wasn't hurting people anymore. I was doing just basic stuff. Basic work with my hands, anything from painting to being a waiter to being a security guard, anything. I was honest with my employers. I got a criminal record, but they took me on. God put a lady called Sarah in my life. And Sarah and I were married for 11 years. And she really is my best friend. And also my most trusted critic. We got 2 lovely little boys, Ethan and Jacob. Ethan is 6 and Jacob is just 3. My 6-year-old Ethan's got a lovely faith in God already. And I know that he would like me to tell you tonight that he prayed for you this evening. I saw him early on today, and he prays that everybody I speak to will at least take something positive from what I say and allow it to affect your life. He's only 6. What I can say to you is this, friends. God restored my life. I went to a church, and you know, I became like a youth worker at the church. Can you imagine that, a youth worker? I was great. I mean, the young people, we had a great rapport. They always looked up to me for being a bodyguard in the past. It was great. They would listen to me when I talked to them about Jesus. I'd always want to drive in my car because I always drove a little bit faster than most. And what I can say to you is that before we were expecting our first son, Ethan, God was going to teach me the biggest lesson I've ever learned in my life so far. Because, you know, the biggest mistake I made when I became a Christian was to think that God finished with me when He saved me. Because I now realize I'm really nothing more than a construction site. I'm a flipping building site that God's still working on. Day by blooming day. And I didn't realize, you know, God had only just begun working on my life in that prison. There was a lot of work to be done with my character. And, you know, He's still sanding down the abrasive parts of my character and my life. And He's also chipping off some big, ugly chunks. And we're going to finish tonight with this one last chunk. I was in my car one spring night. It was a Monday night. We were living just outside Wokingham at the time. Sarah was at home. She was pregnant, and, you know, I finished counselling a young boy that evening. and I picked up a Chinese takeaway and I made my way home. On my way home, it was very dark in Jersey down this countryside lane, and there are many deer that would dart around the roads at this time of year, and I saw a stop sign too late. I slammed my brakes on and the wheels of my car locked and the car proceeded forward, and my car hit something that I thought was an animal, like a deer. Well, by the time the car stopped, I quickly got out and I saw nothing on the road at all. I looked, I had a broken number plate and a broken headlamp, and I figured I've hit an animal. I got back into my car and I proceeded home. That was Monday. On the Friday of that week, I had the young people at my home and we were studying in our Bibles more about God. We got our PlayStation out, played a few games and had a bit of supper, when the oldest boy came up to me making jokes about my broken number plate. He would joke about anything from the shape of my nose to my haircut, now it's my number plate. Well, he was just talking about, like, how it happened and just pulling my leg, thinking that I got up to mischief and this sort of thing, and I just felt slightly embarrassed. They respected me so much for being a bodyguard, and, bodyguards should never have accidents like this, and I felt like an idiot. Well, I just think I'm so ashamed of because I lied through my teeth to that boy. I told him, no, I just found my car like that. He then proceeded to tell me how he heard that a car was being looked, the police were looking for a car that was involved in a hit-and-run accident on Monday night, where a lady was knocked off her bike and she flew into these bushes basically and she died. And now the police are looking for a hit-and-run driver, where this person has killed this lady. Well, I joked through the rest of the conversation to hurry it by, but I knew there and then, this has got to be me. He spoke about the same day and the same time and the same place, and I really felt so sick. I hurried the youth group out my home that day, really. I looked in the newspaper and I found out precisely what happened. There was a car just like ours, and this poor lady was a mother of 2 teenagers that I realized must still hate my guts because I've taken away their mum. I should have gone straight to the police, but I was making so many wrong decisions. I was being such a fool. I just was thinking about, I don't want to go back to prison. I really don't want to go back to prison. I'm about to be a dad, and I also wanted to be dead because of this poor lady dying. There were so many things going through my mind, and a lot of it was selfish because I didn't want to be in trouble. All I can say to you is that I left so late that a policeman came to me first. He was doing an investigation on this damaged car, and I was there, and I basically lied for my teeth. I told him that I found my car like that, and well, that carries a custodial sentence. I actually went to prison for perverting the course of justice, for lying to the policeman, and for many other crimes connected to that, failing to stop and report an accident, and death by careless driving, and what have you. They sent me to Bullingdon in Bicester. I went there for 15 months. I had to do my full sentence in there because I have a very filthy record. And so I did my full sentence in the prison. I only served 8 months of that. I just wanted to be dead. The prison, well, that was nothing. I mean, no prison is easy, but, they got flipping televisions in their cells and CD players. That's not prison. Cyprus was a prison. But what was getting me down here was that I was a Christian in prison. I was the world's worst advert for God you could ever come across. And I just wish, I really, if I wasn't married or expecting a son, I would have cut my wrists. I was in my cell reading my Bible. I made this decision to myself that I could never, ever speak to anybody about God ever again because I'm a sickening thing. And all I can say to you is that I will never stop believing in God, but I stopped believing that God could ever use a schmuck like me. So I vowed to silence Christianity. I would never speak to anybody about God or anything like that. And I just decided to become this fruitless, silent Christian. I was reading my favorite verse in John 8:36, which says, if the Son sets you free, you should be free indeed, when a good friend, Darren was sentenced on the same day as me, and we smiled to each other and encouraged each other in a small way, and he just walked into my cell as I was reading these words. And as soon as he walked in, I quickly closed my Bible and I slipped it under my pillow, because I didn't want to talk about that or let him know that I'm a Christian at all. And he walked in saying, well, hi, Tony, how are you? I said, I'm fine, thanks. How are you? He said, I'm okay. He said, but what did you just hide under your pillow? I said, it's nothing. It's just a book. He said, what do you mean it's just a book? It looks like a Bible to me because it was black with a gold edge like this. But I said, yeah, a Bible's a book, isn't it? Why do you want to know? And I got so defensive. He said, well, keep your hair on, Tony, for goodness sake. I'm just asking a simple question. What, are you ashamed of something? Are you religious? Are you a Christian? What's the big deal?